Hi, this is TD Flinaw. I'm going to be talking to you today about parent involvement in their child's education. Research shows that many parents do not participate with their child's education like they did in elementary school once they get into middle school. And that is a big problem because middle school is a training ground for high school. They set in place many skills, knowledge, and habits that will help them to do well in high school. Another thing that I really need to talk to parents about is making sure that they are continuously involved in their child's education and that they're aware of their child's performance level. So I was a middle school parent for many years, and as a middle school teacher, for many years, and as a middle school teacher, I had an experience, and this was many different times, where when I had met with the parents, I talked to them about their child's performance level being below what the grade level standards are, and ways that we could support them at school, and ways that they could do activities at home to help their child to improve. Um, Often, I heard from parents saying that their child was doing great in school until they had that horrible teacher experience in elementary school. And it's a lot of times early elementary. A second grade teacher, a third grade teacher, a kindergarten teacher really did horrible with their child. And since then, it's been a downward trajectory as far as their child's performance in school, whether or not they like school. And I really want parents to be empowered, not to be a helpless parent that is at the mercy of whatever school that their child attends or whatever teacher their child gets assigned to. Because I really want parents to really recognize that they are the first parent. Before the child goes to school, we are teaching our children many, many different things. And even now, after they go to school, we're still teaching them many different skills, sets of knowledge, and those activities that we do with our child really carry them through. And when we are paying attention to their child's education and empowered to help support our children, they are not going to be the victim of a poor year of teaching. And unfortunately, teachers are humans, or fortunately for that matter, right? We have AI, and who knows what will happen in a few years. But with our human teachers, there could be a variety of things going on where they're not providing the best education for our particular child. Even excellent teachers are not always able to meet all the demands that different children need. We have often overcrowded classrooms, and for whatever reason, the child may not open up to the teacher and really be a source of a place to really trust and build up with the teacher. Um, so it really is imperative that parents really are empowered. They know the skills, they know the direction to go when their child isn't getting what they need. So if they're not, they're going to end up being behind. And middle school is a crucial area to really make sure that your child is together, because it's right before high school. The training ground for high school is middle school. And all of those skills, those habits, the knowledge that they're learning, they're building on what they already know. This helps them and propels them to success in high school, or the opposite will happen. It will continue a downward trend of failure for them. So we want to make sure that our children have what they need. And this is what my podcast is all about, helping to empower parents to know what their child needs and how to make sure that their child is getting what they need continuously. Because as our children mature, they need different things. So I'm a teacher and I'm also a mother of a child who had their own challenges in middle school and elementary school. But as a parent, I made sure that I worked with my child and sometimes got tutoring when she needed it, and sometimes worked with her when I needed to make sure she got all that she needed, and to make sure that she was able to do college and career without any issues. And that makes sure that you could pass on the knowledge, the skills, and the independence that it affords you to have academic agency. And I definitely can attest, I had some teachers that were definitely less than ideal for my child. Sometimes they did not click, or there were some issues with that. I didn't agree with the way the teacher was teaching all the time. But it wasn't me sitting back being helpless, thinking there's nothing I could do, but instead I knew that there were things that I could do, and I addressed it. Sometimes I addressed it specifically with the teacher, and then other times I addressed it with the teacher and did my own work at home or got my own resources for my child. And that's another thing that you really need to think about: how you invest your money with your child. A lot of us take a lot of pride in making sure our children are very neat and dressed well and all of those things, but sometimes, depending on your budget, you might need to instead spend money on tutoring services or academic services to make sure your child can get up to speed. So I'm primarily an English teacher, English and history. I did not teach math very much in my career. I've taught in elementary, middle school, and high school, but my early career was elementary, where I taught both math and English. But again, that's lower level math. And as a student myself, I took calculus and all of that, but I didn't teach any upper level math. So when my child was in upper level math, I got tutoring for her. I took her to a mathnasium, made sure that she had what she needed. So you really need to gauge, and whatever the money was, I paid for it, because and if I, if that was like she wore like less expensive shoes so that she could go to tutoring, I invested that money. So we really have to be thoughtful about how we're spending our money. I wasn't a rich parent and by any means, but I had to think about what was best as far as investing money, and I thought tutoring was it. So and it did pay off. So she was able to pass her classes and graduate, and not have any issues in that way. So you have to think about where you could put in the work to help support your child, and where you may have to get outside help to help your child. But you need to make sure your finger's on the pulse of what's happening, how it's supposed to be happening, what they're supposed to know. And as a teacher, of course, it was easier for me because I was in education and I had access to teachers. I knew what to ask. And that's another thing. A lot of times parents get caught up sometimes in how wonderful a teacher's personality is, and they don't ask questions about whether or not their child's level is improving or where their child's level is, and they are mostly worried about behavior. But really, the skill is what really matters, right? They're going to mature, and those behavior issues aren't going to be as much of an issue. Or maybe your child's never been a behavior issue. Still, we need to know about their skill level, because that's what's going to get them the jobs that they need, or if not a job, the agency to be able to run their own business, to be creative, and to be innovative. So it's really important that as a parent, you're not getting caught up in teacher personality. And sometimes we hear parents say they don't like a teacher or something like that. And when we dig further, we'll see that the parent doesn't like the teacher because maybe the teacher's weird or quirky or whatever, but it's not because the teacher didn't do an adequate job. And so that attitude towards a teacher actually hurts the child, because the child will actually take on that behavior towards the teacher, and children also block themselves from learning from people that they don't like. And it's really important to understand that you're not going to like all the teachers. You're not supposed to be friends with the teachers. You're really about getting work done. And as a veteran teacher, I actually wasn't taught to get to know students or to work on relationships with the students. And that's not my natural inclination either. I'm not like a people person or very, friendly per se. And I could be socially awkward, but it's not because I don't care about my students or I am not passionate about what I do. It's just because that's how it is. So please don't get caught up in the emotions about your teacher, because actually it may really not be relevant. And sometimes I have found, and it varies from teacher to teacher, sometimes the teachers that are having that great relationship with the student may not be doing what they're supposed to do academically with the students. So don't get distracted. Really focus on what my child should be doing. How is my child doing it? How can I support at home? And don't get caught up in all of that extra personality stuff. It's something that's important, but some teachers, because of their personality, don't even think about it, and it's not because they don't care about the kids. Really look at what the teacher's doing and what work they're doing with you, and avoid getting emotional when a teacher really gives you evidence like your child is not performing, because that's not the end of the conversation. It's the beginning of the conversation. Here's where your child is. This is what we can do to support them. This is what we're doing to support them. And this is where you can do at home to support them. And then the follow-up throughout the year. Oh, they're doing better. They're writing more paragraphs. They're doing their multiplication facts. They are learning their algebraic functions. And that's what you need to keep yourself focused on. Teachers are mostly temporary fixtures in your child's life. There may be some exceptions, but a lot of times they're just temporary. You are the sauce. You are the connecting force. You're there for your child from pre-K to kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way to high school. And you have to make sure that you don't drop the ball. Even if someone else, because they're human, because they're not perfect, doesn't do what they're supposed to do. You have to make sure that your child gets what they need. And that is, I think, a key missing ingredient that a lot of parents don't think about. They think, oh, that's the teacher's job for the child to do well, or the teacher messed up. Just like people say, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to educate a child. It's not just what the teacher does at home, at school. It also has to do what the parents do at home, how they support what's being done at home, how they reinforce. It's also really important to realize that a lot of students have a summer slide or a winter slide. If we're not doing academic work with the kids throughout the year, our kids actually lose grade level progress in many times. So you have to think about what you need to do. Now, does that mean you need to sit your child down and do 4 hours of work or 6 hours of work like a school day? Absolutely not. So that is why you need to, follow my blog and look at my Instagram at Falling for Learning, because we give you tips and information about how to have fun, engaging activities that you can integrate with the family on a regular basis. They're free activities. You don't have to pay anything for them, but it keeps your child engaged and it keeps your child loving learning. And my website, fallinginlovewithlearning.com, is really a key resource to help you understand that writing and reading and academic activities can be done with the family and make it normal, not make it a school thing, and really think about tasks that you do already as a family that you need to handle business with, or that you communicate with other family members and each other with, that involves reading, that involves writing, that involves math, and to make sure that your child is normally using these activities and that they are getting more and more independent. So, of course, you may start your child working with you, for example, with creating recipes or even making some cookies from scratch or something like that, and you give them a lot of support with it. You might read part of it to them depending on their age and their skill level. And then eventually they're able to do it with very little support from you, and you could just be the assistant instead of them being the assistant, right? Really handing off that responsibility, because that's the ultimate goal as parents, that our children can be independent, that they don't need us as far as financially. Of course, we're going to be there with them as emotional support and have relationships with them for the rest of their life, but really they'll be able to function in the world on their own. That's the ultimate goal, and that's what you want to be thinking about as you are trying to constantly help them see how writing, reading, and math and these different skills that they're learning in school are relevant to their everyday lives.